In the last 7 months, I've gained over 300,000 followers across platforms. And this is without doing any TikTok style dancing or running any paid ads. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down my full content creation process and the exact workflow I use to generate over 50 million views on my content. So firstly, for some context, my content is based around content creation and social media growth. And I create educational styled videos on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And something you need to understand is that people are scrolling social media in search of 4 main things. So education, inspiration, validation, and entertainment. And if you're wanting to have any success on social media, your content needs to serve at least one of these pillars. With that being said though, if you want to see massive growth, then you want to blend these pillars together. So now, once you have an idea of the pillars of content you're going to serve, you now need to implement a content strategy. And personally for me, the main styles of content that I'm focusing on right now are Instagram carousels, short form videos, and long form YouTube content. And regardless of the actual content type I'm creating, I always follow my ABC framework, which consists of 3 styles of content. So firstly, we have authority styled content, which is all about building trust and providing value to your audience. So you can think of this as your how-tos, your top tips, and any social proof you may have. And the main goal of authority styled content is to position yourself as the go-to expert within your niche. Next is boost content, which focuses on creating content that appeals to a wide range of people and drives traffic to your account. So this could be things like having a controversial take on a topic within your industry or following trends that are more entertaining for your audience. And then finally, we have community content. And this is all about creating a human connection with your audience. This type of content sets you apart from your competitors and will help convert your followers into raving fans. Some examples of this style of content is sharing your story, sharing your opinions, and showcasing your personality. And basically, this ABC framework is designed to take a complete stranger who's just discovered your content all the way to becoming a raving fan. And the reason I believe this 3-step framework is the best for not only building a following, but to also create a community is because the boost content can be seen as the top of the funnel, where the main goal with this style of content is to drive as much traffic to your account. So for example, with this boost video here, I used a trending song mixed with a more fun styled content idea, and this one video has received over 5 million views. From here, once the viewer is hooked in by the boost video, we can then use the authority and community styled content to help nurture them and build trust. And this is what's going to lead them to becoming a raving fan. And an example of a personal styled content piece would be this video tweet here. And the reason this works so well was because transformations are powerful and relatable, and it acts as a mini story of my personal journey. But now that you have a better idea of the 3 styles of content that we're going to create, let's now cover how to actually create this content. And basically, we can break down the whole creation process into 4 steps. So firstly is idea generation. And this is arguably the most important part of the process, because it won't matter how well shot or edited a video is. If the idea sucks, then the video will be a flop. So how I think of viral content ideas is by first looking on places like Quora.com, Facebook groups, and ChatGPT to see what questions people in my niche are asking. Secondly, I look internally and see if any of my past experiences, mistakes, life lessons, or things I've learned recently could benefit my audience. And thirdly, I look through my competitors' comments to see if there are any questions I can answer or if there are any problems my target audience are currently having. Now, the second part of the content creation process is scripting. And this is where you take your content idea and then structure it into a viral video script. And how I personally like to do this is by following my HVC framework, which consists of a hook, value, and a call to action. So the hook is the first 1 to 3 seconds of your videos, and it's used to stop people from scrolling away. And personally, I spend the most amount of scripting time crafting these hooks because they are the most important part of your videos. And if you want to see the 5 hooks that the top creators are using right now to steal your attention, I released a video a few weeks ago that covers hooks in depth, which you can check out after this video. But next is the value pillar, and this is used to provide some type of education, entertainment, or inspiration to your viewer. So basically, this is the meat of your video, and it should deliver on the promise you made in the hook. Then lastly is the call to action, which is used to direct your viewer to do something. So this could be a follow, like, or a comment. And a pro tip to keep in mind when scripting your call to actions is to ensure you're only asking for one thing. So for example, you've probably seen YouTubers asking you to like their video, leave a comment, and not forget to subscribe to their channel. And this is a massive mistake because the more choices you give your viewers, the less likely they're going to do anything at all. But now, when it comes to the actual softwares for scripting your videos, I personally use Google Docs for the first few years of my career. But as my library of content grew, I started losing scripts and my entire workflow became a nightmare. So to optimize my workflow, I made the switch to Notion, which is a free note-taking app. And I created my own custom content planner, which has a bunch of different templates and databases to keep me organized and to help speed up my entire workflow. So when you open up the template, we're going to see that everything has been broken down into different sections. So let's run through all of them together. So at the top, we have a swipe file folder. And basically, this is a page where you can quickly capture any content that inspires you. Because personally for me, a lot of my content ideas come to me when I'm listening to a podcast, out on a walk, or while I'm working out. So I wanted to create a folder where I can quickly capture these ideas while I'm out, and then I can sort through them once I'm back at my computer. Next, we have the goals section, and I've put this at the top of the template because personally, I like to have my goals in my face at all times to ensure I stay on track and to remind me what I'm working towards. Under that, I've also created a milestone section, which allows you to break your goals down into smaller wins. And these two databases are linked, so when you check these milestones off, your progress on your goal will automatically update, which helps you visualize the progress you're making on your goals. Next, we have the Power Planner, and this allows you to plan out your week to ensure you're working on the day-to-day tasks that will get you closer to your goals. But now moving on, we have the Content Planner section, and this is the most powerful part of the template. So firstly, we have the Content Calendar, which has been designed for you to get a bird's eye view of your content and for you to be notified on when a piece of content should be published. Below that, we have the Content Pipeline, which is where you'll be planning and scripting out your content. And as we can see, the whole production process has been broken down into steps, and this allows you to visualize where your content is in the production process. Working with a pipeline like this is also great for those of you who work with editors because it allows everyone on your team to be on the same page. And to create a new script, just click on the new button and then name your script. From here, just open the card up, and now you have a few different options in terms of the template you'd like to use. So I went ahead and baked in some of my personal templates, so depending on what type of content piece you're working on, you can choose them here. But for this example, I'm going to click on the new short form video template, and just like that, you'll see the page updates. If we scroll down to the bottom, you'll see that I've added different resources to help you script, plan, and publish your content. So firstly, we have the HVC framework, which is the framework I use when scripting out my short form videos, so you can go through this to remind you of how this works while you're planning your content. Next, I have my top 50 proven hooks. So depending on the video you're working on, you can go through and choose one that works for you. Next, we have a shot list section where you can jot down any B-roll you need for your videos. And then lastly, we have two different checklists to remind you of the process when publishing and repurposing your content. And again, this is just one of the templates that are baked into the Consistent Creator template. But now going back, this content pipeline and calendar are linked. So whatever changes you make here will automatically populate on the calendar, which makes everything seamless. But moving down, we have the Creator Resources area, and this section is where I've added all of the different assets and softwares I personally use to help me stay consistent with my content. So everything I use for idea generation, scripting, and graphics. This library of assets is a collection of the best resources I've found over the last 6 years of being a full-time content creator. But now lastly, we have a platform area that you can use to save your links or any notes about your account. I've also added a goals and content database so that you can see all the things you're working on for each platform. So that was a quick run through of my content production planner. And if you're interested in grabbing a copy of this exact template alongside training videos teaching you how to customize it to your content needs, then I've left a link in the description below where you can pick it up for yourself. But now moving on to part 3 of the content creation process, and that is creating the content. So firstly, for my X tweets, I've actually created Photoshop templates that allow me to fully customize them however I like. Because a fun fact is that I don't even have an X account, but I do like the style and how easy these styles of posts are to create. And with these templates, I've created different color and size variations variations, making the whole creation process as seamless as possible. And if you want to download these templates for yourself, I've left a link in the description below. But next, for my short form videos, I personally batch create all of my content, which basically means I'll dedicate a day or two to script out as many short form videos as possible. And then I'll spend a full day just shooting as many videos as I can. For the actual setup, I personally use the Sony a7 IV camera set vertically on a tripod for this angle, and then the Sony a7S III for this side angle here. Attached to the cameras, I have the Sony 24-70mm G Master and a 55mm Zeiss lens. And for both cameras, I have the video settings set to 4K 30 frames per second. With my camera setup, I then transfer the text from my content planner into the Prompt Smart Pro app. And this is an app that pairs perfectly with my teleprompter. And this allows me to read my video scripts while looking directly at my camera. I also plug my camera to a field world monitor so that I can see myself when I'm recording. And for the microphone, I'm currently using the Shure MV7 plugged into a Zoom H6 recorder. For lighting, I'm currently using 4 lights that consist of my Aperture 120D Mark II as my key light, 2 Nanlite Pavo tubes to create this strip of light here, and this bit of color here. And lastly, I'm also using a Godox Gobo to create this light shape behind me. And please keep in mind that all this camera gear is not needed to start creating viral content, because I have multiple videos that were shot entirely with my smartphone that have received millions of views. And the only reason I have all of this camera gear is because I was a professional photographer and filmmaker for over 6 years. So just remember, if you're just starting to create content online, you need to remove all friction to create. Because if you're struggling to set the correct camera settings, or you're confused about what lights to buy, then you're just never going to take action. So my recommendation for beginners is to forget about all of it and just use your smartphone and natural light from the sun. But now moving on to the final part of the content creation process, and that is editing. So once the video has been shot, I transfer the files onto my computer and edit it inside of Final Cut Pro on a 4K timeline, which ends up being 2160 by 3840. And the key thing you want to add into your video edits are pattern interrupts. And some examples of this is adding B-roll, adding a zoom effect, changing camera angles, adding captions, and adding sound effects. And I personally like to add some type of pattern interrupt into every 3 seconds of my videos, because this will help increase your video watch times, which will then lead to the algorithm pushing out your content to even more people. With that being said, I've now hired and trained a team of editors to replicate my style, because a common issue I fell into the past was creator burnout. So before, I would do these content sprints where I'd dedicate the next 30 days to posting one piece of content per day. And during these sprints, I would start to gain some good traction on my account, but by day 30, I would be mentally exhausted and I'll just end up burning out and not end up posting anything for another month. And I'll repeat this process for years before understanding that the only way I was going to scale up my online presence was by building out a team to manage the heavy lifting of my content. Because at the end of the day, social media is a numbers game, and the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. So to help other creators avoid the countless burnouts I personally went through, I'm opening up the doors and giving full access to my exact editors and my social media growth team. So if editing is holding you back from staying consistent with your content, or you need some personal advice on your social media strategy, then you can click the link in the description below and I can personally help you find an editor that fits your brand, or you can even try to find someone on a website like Freelancer or Upwork. But there we have it. That is a full wrap up of the entire workflow that helped me gain over 300,000 followers in the last 7 months. And if you want to learn the 5 key strategies I use to gain millions of views on my educational styled content, then you can check out this video here.